Hi, I'm Yui Shu.
And I'm Julie Kraftchick.
We're active daters turned dating sociologists.
Here to dive into everything modern dating and relationships.
Welcome to the Dateable podcast. Tick, tick, tick. You know what time it is? Brunch talk time. What time? I want to know, Julie, what time do you usually go to brunch?
Oh, like 11, at least.
Oh, you actually do brunch. That's actually
Yeah.
brunch time. Okay.
What about you?
Well, I usually do brunch around 1, which is no longer brunch. That's lunch.
That used to be me, like back in the day when I would do bottomless mimosas because I'd want to work out before because I knew that anything after was totally downhill. But now that I'm just super lame, I just go to brunch at a normal hour.
No, that is actual brunch. But after 12 o'clock, you can't say you're going to brunch. At that time, you're going to lunch.
Wherever you are on the brunch spectrum, you can go and you can get your dating questions answered. We're here for you if you eat brunch at 8 a.m. or if you eat it at 2 p.m. We're here for you. Doesn't matter. No judgment.
No judgment, except I'm secretly judging because I'm judging myself. But yes, you're right, Julie. Wherever and whenever you're listening to us, it is brunch time. It is brunch talk time. And we're going to have a wonderful question to answer today. The question is, any advice on moving in with someone for the first time if you've never lived with someone before?
And our listener left us an Apple review, which we said we will prioritize. So thank you very much. And they also mentioned that they had been listening for 2 years. And now the question is about moving in with a partner. So this shit works. Thank you for that. We love it. So the more details was, I've never lived with a partner before and haven't had a roommate since I lived with my twin sister in college 17 years ago. I'm excited to start a new chapter of our relationship and life together. But my anxiety is kicking in high gear because I know I can be rigid. I want to be flexible and to learn to compromise in terms of decor, meals, or even cleaning. For better word, I have control freak tendencies. How can I adjust to living with my partner? I know Julie has recently moved in with her partner.
So, Julie, since this is very fresh for you, what would you say to her?
Ooh. You know, it's funny because I feel like my partner is probably the better one to answer this than me because he is more in line with this listener. But, you know, you have to say it. When something's bothering you, the worst thing you can do is let it fester. And sometimes we think that we're being too much by saying, like, it bothers me that you haven't taken out the trash. But it's better than building resentment for someone. That's really where everything goes to die. So have the conversation. If you don't already have a weekly check-in with your partner, highly recommend it. For a long time, I didn't know the value. I was like, why do people have to do this? Shouldn't everyone just know at all times what each other is thinking?
No.
And doesn't the relationship just magically work? No, you need a weekly check-in. And this is the perfect time to do it. And what my partner and I do is we actually follow Dr. Alexandra Solomon's weekly check-in. And it starts off with what's going well in your week, what isn't, which has nothing to do with the relationship, but just a way to, you know, get on the same page, understand the mindset of your partner. Then it's one thing that you appreciate or a hot damn about your partner, something that's going well. And then a relational growing edge is what she calls it. And this is the opportunity to bring it up.
Ooh.
And why I like this is because it's not like you're just peppering things all the time that are a problem. It's a space where you're saying the positive, what's going well, and you're also making room for these growing edges. And calling it a growing edge is really helpful too, because it's like we're in it together. We're going to work through it. And the more you can frame it in that way and less about like, you never take out the trash, then I think that's when you can build something really positive with each other.
Right. For our listener, you're not going to get it right from the beginning.
No.
You're not going to sit down and be like, here are the rules. Here's how we're going to operate. Everything's going to be dandy. It doesn't work like that. That's why these check-ins are important, because you're constantly iterating on what's working and what's not. And I will admit, I've lived with 3 partners in my life. It got harder as I got older because there are just certain things that you're
set in your ways.
Things that you like. You know, you like things a certain way. And I wouldn't say I have the control freak tendencies, but my former partner certainly did. And he was pretty adamant on having certain things. And having furniture being a certain way. But those are actually the smaller problems. Those you can overcome because that's just compromising. I think the harder problem is the little quirks that are these daily quirks that you as a partner either need to choose to accept and love, or you have to address it. I'll give you a great example. I had dinner with my friend last night. She said she and her boyfriend moved in. She didn't know that she has this habit of leaving cups everywhere. So she would drink some water.
I have that habit too.
She would drink some water and just leave it, and she wouldn't put it back in the sink or wash it, whatever. So in the beginning, her boyfriend was like, ugh, why am I picking up cups everywhere? And recently they had a check-in and he said, you know what? I've learned to, every time I pick up a cup of yours, I've learned to really love it because I can say, oh, she was here. I can appreciate.
Tell my partner this.
Like, I really appreciate that she's here, with me. We get to live together. And this cup is a reminder of her presence in our home. So there are certain quirks that you can choose and say, I choose to love this about my partner and I will embrace it.
So I'm going to take back what I said earlier about my partner having more of this against me, because I think we have it in different ways, like the behavioral stuff, like the cups. I'm guilty of that. And I think it pisses him off. And he has learned to, express it. I've learned to be more conscious of it. It's a work in progress. So there's that piece. He's also alerted me of things that I had no idea that I was doing. Like, for instance, like keeping the alarm going or talking on the phone with the door open, like things that are just common courtesy of someone else. And I have really struggled with that, even letting him know when I'm recording, because as I've disclosed before, the bathroom is near there. But also he also wants to be kind and courteous and not be super loud when I'm recording. So it's like little things. But also what we did was I just gave him access to our Dateable calendar and he can see when I'm recording. It's like problem solved. And for me, that's not a big deal. I want to make him happy. I don't want to disturb him if he's trying to sleep. Like I can shut the door and talk on the phone. Like it's a very minimal for me. At the end of the day, you both want the relationship to work. You want to make your partner happy. If they come to you with behaviors that you need to adapt, think about it not like defensively, but more like, okay, is this an easy switch for me to make? Can I just be more conscious of it? So there's that. The furniture stuff, I feel like I had a harder time with. I was more of the stickler for that.
Yes.
Because I had a vision of my place and it was hard for me to take that out. So I think I actually maybe went too far on the first time when we started talking about living together, kind of like none of your band posters anywhere. And I had to really pull that back in and make it inviting and make someone else's, aesthetics be part of it. Because at the end of the day, you're both living here together. And I wish I did that more from the beginning, but I'm doing it now and better late than never. So I would say think about like what really matters. Like, is it hanging a poster or your relationship? Like, what's more important to you in the long run?
To be fair, though, this is where it gets really nuanced. He moved into your apartment. So it's a little different because you did have a way of doing your own apartment. If you two were moving into apartment that you were signed the lease together and like it was empty when you moved in, it'd be a little different story. So also that's just something to think about. It's like if someone's moving into the other person's apartment, you have to intentionally sit down and say, now this is our apartment.
Yeah.
What does that mean? It's no longer me being a guest in your apartment. That's a really hard switch for a lot of people to make.
Yeah, I want to go into something, but before we do, let's take a quick break to hear from our sponsors. We are so excited to share with you our new podcast, Exit Interview. Dates don't usually end with a satisfaction survey, and yet we rate everything in our lives, from Uber drivers to local coffee shops. So why don't we do the same thing when dating?
We're here to conduct the ultimate romance review, featuring daters hungry for love who have agreed to call up old flames to gather honest feedback.
Welcome to Exit Interview.
He upgraded himself to business class while I was in economy.
Wait, wow. What?
There's feedback that will make you cringe.
She could be a little bit hard-headed, like not reading the writing on the wall.
And feedback that will make you swoon.
When she said that she had feelings for you.
I had no idea.
Really? And maybe you'll learn a thing or two yourself about how you can be a better dater, lover, or partner.
Obviously, knew I was going to learn something. I didn't expect this.
Welcome to Exit Interview.
Listen to Exit Interview on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. So in that case, I think a big help for me was just an ease in all around. Is even when he didn't live there, I made sure to get his opinion on furniture. And there were times that, to be honest, I wanted something else and he didn't like it. And instead of buying that piece, I chose something that he liked too. And of course, I didn't choose something like I didn't like, but I did try to take that into account. So I think regardless of if you're moving into one of your shared spaces already or you're starting a new space, thinking about like, okay, maybe it's not your first choice for decor, but what can you live with? And how do you find creative solutions? Like the band posters, for instance, I made a gallery wall and some of the art is the band posters and then other art is my art. So it's like a combo together. So you can really get creative, but ultimately you need to just remember, like, what am I trying to do here? Like, what is the most important?
Yeah, you have a common goal, which is to build a life together in a physical space. And sometimes it's not going to look like the space that you envisioned in the beginning, but that's part of what being in a relationship is. I've heard from my other friends of what has worked is if you have a big enough place, you give each other like their own corner where they can do whatever they want with it. So both of you have the freedom of expression, however creatively you want to decorate that space, but then you also like get to experience each other's personalities through that space as well. It's like, it's just creating the space for both people to have a say in something. I struggle the most with chores because I'm never on a regular schedule. I don't eat at the same time every day. I don't get up at the same time every day. I'm just not a very routine-based person. And my ex-partner was. So we had to really split up the chores to make it feel like we were in it together. Because if it were just up to me, today I'm eating lunch at 2 and tomorrow I'm eating lunch at 12 or at 11, wherever I feel like it. So our compromise was we would switch off cooking. I would be responsible for food Tuesdays and Thursdays and him Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And however you get the food on the table, it doesn't matter. Whether you have to order, you have to go to the farm and farm that shit, or you cook it in the kitchen. As long as you get the food on the table at certain times on those days, you've fulfilled your duties.
I like that. And, you know, I have a different routine and everyone has to find what works for them. I'm with you on that. Like the structure was hard for me too, but you know, now my partner and I, we eat dinner at 7 o'clock every day. And that's the time where I need to stop work and stop other stuff. It's same for him. And it actually works really well for us.
That's great.
But it took finding what that was and me being like, I need another 5 minutes, another 10 minutes. And him being like, oh, stop.
Yeah.
So like you have to find what works and get to that point. You know, for us, we do like I'm on laundry duty and he does most of the cooking and cleanup in the kitchen. So we have it split that way. It's not that I don't do any of that. I do, but like he's more of the lead there. And same for me on laundry. So it's like we take like the biggest things and we actually both really like grocery shopping together. So we both do it together. So yeah, you have to just find what works for you, but ultimately you want to make it feel as fair as possible. And also you're always going to think you do more than your partner because we always think about what we're doing and we don't see all the stuff they're doing. That's for any relationship.
So true. Yeah. You just lean into your strengths and it doesn't have to be 50-50 on one chore. I had a partner back in the day in my 20s who loved to cook.
Yeah.
And I didn't like to cook. So he did all the cooking and that was fine. He enjoyed it. And I'm a sick person. I really like washing the dishes. I never use my dishwasher. I love using my hands to wash the dishes. So I would take over washing the dishes. You'll be able to discover these strengths and weird quirks that you have, and you can split up accordingly. Just don't feel like you have to split everything down the middle. It doesn't work like that.
No, if you're looking for another episode, because we're obviously not going to go full deep on this, the 80/80 marriage episode we did. You could just search that.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about this. I think moving in is almost like marriage.
Yeah.
It's not, marriage legally, but the same stuff applies. So I highly recommend going back and re-listening to that episode because it really talks about like how this little stuff can really get in your way if you don't have a good way of navigating it with your partner.
It's such a great growth opportunity. If you ever get a chance to live with a partner, do it. Even if it doesn't work out, you learn so much about yourself. It's so different than living with a roommate.
I also think I loved living alone, absolutely. But I also developed some really bad habits living alone. Because there's no one there.
Yeah,
there's no one
one's
there to see if
regulating
you finished the
you.
ice cream, or there's no one there to say, don't leave your shit on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
I think, it's hard to come out of that when you're living with someone, but you can also look at it as a positive.
Mm-hmm.
That maybe some of these habits that really weren't serving you, having someone else there to check them a bit could be a positive instead of an annoyance.
Good luck with the move. Have the conversations, have the hard conversations. But more important than anything else is enjoy your time together.
Have fun, yes.
What a wonderful, precious time you get to spend having a sleepover with your best friend every day.
Yes.
Enjoy your time together above all else.
Yes, it's really important to keep that in mind when you are going through these challenges because you both need to feel like you're in it together and it's not me against you. So do the check-in. Highly recommend that. Find what works for you. And you got this. This is exciting. This is big.
Keep us updated. And for everybody else, send in your brunch talk questions. You can DM us on Instagram at Dateable Podcast, or you can email us hello@dateablepodcast.com. But if you really want your questions answered, at the top of the queue, leave it in your rating and review on Apple Podcasts. Give us 5 stars. And then in the body of your review, just be like, listen, here's my brunch talk question. What's up? And then we'll pull it to the top of the line and we'll answer it as fast as we can.
Yep. And make sure to subscribe if you haven't yet and to tune in on Wednesdays for our long form content.
Bye. The Dateable Podcast is part of the Frolic Media Network. Find more podcasts you'll love at frolic.media/podcasts. You can follow us on Instagram at Dateable Podcast and visit dateablepodcast.com for access to all the episodes and our premium programs. Also, make sure to subscribe today if you haven't already on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform so you are the first to get all the latest episodes. And most importantly, stay dateable.